starts now.
Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. The truth always comes out. That is the subject of tonight's Waters Words. More memos and text messages out this week. They're pretty damning for Democrats. Here are the highlights. 1. A text message from the two Trump-hating, Hillary-loving FBI agents, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, say they had to brief Comey because, quote, POTUS wants to know everything we're doing. Now, what were they doing at the time? They just let Hillary off the hook and had recently launched a counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign and were preparing to convince a judge to let him spy on Trump associates. So President Obama potentially knew his own government agencies were investigating his political enemy's presidential campaign. 2. The Steele dossier, which was paid for by the Clinton campaign and the DNC, relied almost entirely on Russian government sources. The rest of the dossier allegedly came from Hillary crony Sid Blumenthal, who laundered Trump smears through the Obama State Department and into Steele's hands. Sid Blumenthal is Hillary's black ops man. He reportedly peddled the rumor that Obama was born in Kenya during the 2008 primary. He's a dirty player. 3. The FBI caught Steele leaking the dossier to the mainstream media. Steele also revealed that he despised Trump. His credibility was shattered. He was practically on the FBI payroll. And when the FBI cut him loose, he backdoored his smears into the Justice Department through Bruce Orr. Orr's wife worked at Steele's firm, and Bruce Orr was just demoted. 4. The FBI could not verify the dossier's allegations. The allegations were made by shady Russians and Hillary cronies. The allegations were paid for by Hillary and compiled by a Trump-hating foreign agent. Yet, we believe James Comey hid all of this information from the FISA judge when he asked for a warrant to spy on Trump associates. He reapplied for the warrant several times and continued to deceive the judge. We now know Hillary bought a warrant from Russian sources to spy on Team Trump with the help of a deceitful FBI director. 5. After Trump's election, FBI agents called the results terrifying, saying they needed to, quote, brush up on Watergate, and then wrote, we have our task ahead of us. Did this task have anything to do with the, quote, insurance policy against the Trump presidency that they hatched in Andrew McCabe's office, the number 2 at the Obama Justice Department, the guy who was just forced into early retirement? Who better to break this all down? Sean Hannity, who I spoke to earlier. Welcome back to Waters World, Sean.
Do you do that nobody saw you do that like on TV? Well, you really do.
I really do it.
Like you go home in the house, you have kids. Welcome to my world.
And they
Daddy's
say,
home.
yeah, they say it's not your world when you're home.
That's actually true. They control the water.
Exactly.
World.
All right, so I want to go over some of the text messages that broke this week. So Peter Strzok and Page, the FBI agents, now they're saying this. Obama wants to know everything the FBI is doing. This is right when this whole counter-espionage thing is heating up. They're going after Papadopoulos, and they're just about to wiretap Carter Page. What do you think Obama's involvement is or was?
You know what? Why do we have to speculate when Barack Obama could be brought in and asked the question, what did you know, when did you know it?
You really think they're going to bring in the ex-president?
Well, you know, they talk about constantly interviewing Trump, but it's been a year and how many months, and there's no evidence, zero evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Look, these people hated Donald Trump. They talked about an insurance policy. The worst part to me is that you got Peter Strzok and James Comey in early May, like May 2nd, they begin drafting Hillary's exoneration into the email server scandal. And they don't interview Hillary or 17 other people until July.
Right.
And then the day after, she was interviewed July 4th weekend, and the next Monday, or Tuesday, there was James Comey exonerating her after 13 minutes of laying out an indictment against her. So,
and then that's when the investigation into the Trump team begins, right after that.
Well, they tried in July to get the first FISA warrant, if you recall. That was denied. Which doesn't happen very often.
Right. It's a very high bar.
Very high bar. Well, it should be. And the worst part of all of this is, We now know, if you look at the Grassley-Graham memo,
right,
it says this was mostly Russian government propaganda and misinformation. Certainly what Steele got. Not only did he get information from Hillary's cronies, which we also learned this week,
right,
Sid Blumenthal and others, but she paid almost $12 million for Russian propaganda to lie to the American people, mislead them before an election. And then it gets worse. Then the Grassley-Graham memo points out that it became the bulk of information that they used to get the FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign in the lead up to the election and then try to undermine Trump after the election.
Exactly. And you bring up Sidney Blumenthal, who was Hillary's crony. Now, do you remember who Sidney was? He was the guy that started the Obama is a Muslim born in Kenya rumor and put that picture out with
was it him? I didn't
the Obama and the Muslim guard. That was him. So it's not surprising he's involved in this smear. He launders the smear through the State Department, Obama's State Department,
very well said,
into the dossier. And then when Comey presents the dossier to the FISA judge, doesn't say that it's paid for by Hillary.
They have a footnote. They're trying to persuade us that this footnote matters, that it may have political origins. The problem is the FBI, the DOJ, everybody knew it was a Clinton bought and paid for dossier. So they try to manipulate the American people, but Democrats lie every election season that conservatives, Republicans are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. Bad enough, they're taking it to another level. Russian lies about Donald Trump that are beyond, as you know the details, salacious. But then to use that as a FISA warrant, not tell the FISA judge, and then take it and let it go on this long. Here's why this is, to me, the biggest scandal in the history of the country, far bigger than Watergate. It's because this is now, we have individuals that decided, A, to let Hillary off the hook. It's incontrovertible. The evidence is overwhelming that she committed crimes. Mishandling, destroying classified information, obstructing justice, 33,000 emails, bleach pit, et cetera. Okay. Then, so she obstructed justice. They saved her campaign because they wanted her in the race because they thought that she could beat Donald Trump. They never thought Donald Trump could win. They never thought all of this information was coming out. There was a broad assumption amongst everybody that Trump had no shot. And if you watch, this is about influencing an election, and then, even worse, they can't accept the will of the American people. And that is, then they try to undermine the same person because, remember, there was the first FISA warrant. It's got to be renewed every 90 days. 3 subsequent renewals of the warrant, and each time the dossier was the bulk of information they used.
So if you repeatedly defraud the court and you repeatedly deceive the court, correct, that's criminal, correct? You can get in big trouble for that.
That's felony. That's lying to a court. Yes,
what kind of repercussions are you looking at down the line for these people? Because it's Comey, it's Rosenstein.
Listen,
it's a few people.
We probably should have, although I don't like special counsels, because it always starts out as one thing, like in the case of Trump-Russia collusion, and it ends up moving into so many different areas. We really did have collusion when you think about it.
Right.
Hillary paid for Russian lies.
Right. Russian government lies.
Russian government lies, if you read the Grassley-Graham memo. So either a special prosecutor, but the bottom line is there were multiple crimes committed by multiple people. I actually spent a lot of time on my show this week laying out who the people are, what the crimes are, who needs to be investigated, and what should probably happen. The answer is people should go to jail. There were people that went to jail over Watergate, a third-rate burglary, and then the cover-up afterwards. That's how, to me, that's how serious it is.
When do you expect some of these people to get into Capitol Hill and start testifying under oath, like Strzok or Page?
The pressure's now building for a second special counsel. For the life of me, I have no idea how Strzok and Page still have jobs, or Bruce Orr still has a job.
Yeah.
You know, you would think by now they would have been reprimanded and fired for what they've done here. So, but the problem is, it was actually on my show last March. This is how long this has been. I keep saying that, you know, for those people that say, Hannity, when do we get over the goal line?
Right.
We're getting there, but we've been peeling away a layer of the onion a day. And we finally have gotten to the point where, yeah, we've got all the evidence that we knew these things were happening. Now we put it all together, and now we see, I've never been a conspiracy theorist, That for MSNBC and CNN. But I really, now the evidence is overwhelming, incontrovertible, and we better get to the bottom of it, because if we don't, Jesse, on a serious note, we're shredding our Constitution. That means deep state actors, not rank and file FBI, intelligence, DOJ people, deep state actors at the highest levels of power feel that they can influence an American election, and they took steps to do it. And
you've been criticized pretty heavily for reporting this story for many, many months now. Let's play some tape and get your reaction. Go ahead.
Great. You set me up.
Conservative media whipping themselves into a frenzy with the insistence that the Devin Nunes memo would be the one to end it all and finally expose the deep state coup attempt against Donald Trump.
The president and his allies, the 3.5-page document is evidence of a vast anti-Trump conspiracy at the highest levels of the Justice Department.
So they're mocking you. Would you like an apology?
No, I don't care what they say. The irony of it all is what they said mattered to them for a whole year was Russia, Trump, Russia. But the sad reality, and I said this back in 2007 or 8, this is before you were born, as the young gun here, I'm teasing, at the Fox News Channel. But in all seriousness, I said journalism's dead. You know, at the end of the day, there's room for politics. There's room for vigorous debate, disagreement in the country. You do it so well, all of you guys on the Five. I'm a big fan of the show. But there's also, you have to have some fidelity to truth in your life.
And that's gone now. That you're seeing in the media is gone.
I see sheep that literally live in an echo chamber. They tweet each other. They try to outdo each other. If one person says Trump is demented, no, you're wrong. He's really, really, really demented. And that's the sheep mentality.
Will they be able to prop this hoax up?
They have missed the biggest story in their adult lives. They've missed it. And they, sadly, have also advanced a narrative that has no evidence for over a year. If there's evidence, bring it to me. I'll air it. I'll even invite you people on the air. But they've done a disservice to the American people.
All right.
At the end of the day, people crave some truth in their lives. And the reason that Donald Trump is so popular, I don't care what they think these poll numbers say, and he's getting things done, is because people see this. They understand media is corrupt. You know, the reason we're #1 here at the Fox News Channel, and think about this, we lost 3/4 of our primetime audience, and we're still by far #1. And the reason, I think, is because they know the difference between sincerity, lying, the truth, and they know that the media is complicit in what the Democrats are advancing, their agenda.
And one of those reasons we're still #1, against your better judgment, you've decided to put me on your show on Tuesdays with Jessica Tarlov. So I want to make sure everybody tunes in on Tuesdays.
I consider myself as like the older veteran here, is the bridge between two generations of Fox. You're the younger, obviously.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right, Waters. How do I do it? Like this?
Right there. No,
boom.
Clockwise.
Clockwise.
There it is.
There it is. His world. He now will take over for the rest of his show.
Thanks a lot.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
All right, joining me now, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. All right, Matt, so let's advance the story. These two knuckleheads, Page and Strzok, still actually working at the FBI. First of all, why? And second of all, when are they going to get hauled down in front of Congress to testify under oath?
Well, we need real consequences, Jesse, and it's ludicrous to me that you would take these adulterers and then put Peter Strzok in charge of the HR department of all things. That would be like putting me in charge of the Capital Nutrition Program.
So, you look great. Don't let the camera adds 10 pounds, Congressman.
Yeah, my mom asked how many were pointed at me, but I would suggest that the American people are hungry for real action here, and they're skeptical because we don't want this to become another Benghazi where we discover all of the facts that you've laid out.
And the American public has no appetite for another Benghazi. Years were wasted on that. We know that was a whole hoax perpetrated by Hillary and Obama. They didn't have the assets in place to rescue our own guys on 9/11, then blamed it on a video. But you have now the FBI and the Justice Department aligned against Congress and President Trump. Who wins here?
My expectation is that the American people will win through the appointment of a second special counsel, but that is going to require the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, to do his job. The FBI and the Department of Justice cannot investigate themselves, and the evidence we've uncovered shows wrongdoing at the highest levels of those agencies.
Does Sessions have the authority, since he kind of recused himself from Russia Matters, to appoint a second independent counsel?
Of course he does. There was no legal obligation for that recusal, and frankly, I don't even know what the four corners of that recusal are. Here, the accusation is not against Russia, it's against the very agency that Jeff Sessions leads, the Department of Justice, and then some of the senior politicized leadership at the FBI. So he could appoint that special counsel.
Okay.
More than 24 Republicans have joined me in calling for it, and it's darn time that it happened.
Yeah, pressure's definitely building for that. Now, James Comey, we've laid out pretty clearly that he hid information from the FISA judge, the funding, the partisanship, everything was hidden in a footnote and not revealed. That's criminal. Sean pointed that out. That's actually a felony. Will James Comey be forced to come back and answer questions under oath? Because he has a ton of explaining to do.
Absolutely, James Comey should be back to give answers to the Congress about why his prior testimony was not truthful. He was making claims about the dossier before Congress that now, through the investigation and discovery of evidence, we know may not have been accurate regarding what he was doing, what their intentions were.
Can you compel former Director James Comey to come back and testify?
The House of Representatives has subpoena power, and we absolutely could subpoena James Comey. He's sort of gone from the hero of the left to the demon of the left, now to, like, you know, the greatest troll on Twitter. So I suspect that it would be better to have him before the Congress answering questions about what in the world was going on that allowed cash at a political party to be convertible into a government-sponsored warrant to spy on Donald Trump's transition team.
All right, well, maybe the Twitter troll will come back and testify. Congressman, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back. With the Trump-Russia collusion story falling apart, the Democrats are running around like crazy. They have their own so-called memo now. The author of the Democratic memo is Adam Schiff, a ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee. Now, Schiff's been saying Trump colluded with Russians all year, but has offered no proof. He's become so desperate he got pranked by two Russian comedians who called his office promising dirt on the Donald.
She got compromising materials on Trump after their short relations.
Okay. And what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
Okay. And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We will be back in touch with you through our staff to make arrangements to obtain these materials for our committee and for the FBI, and I appreciate your reaching out to us.
Joining me now, investigative reporter Sarah Carter and former Secret Service agent and NYPD officer Dan Bongino. Sarah, why do Democrats keep falling for naked Trump pictures? This seems like a personal problem.
I have no clue, Jesse. I'm concerned about that they keep wanting to get these pictures of naked Trump. I mean, I think at the point that somebody said, I have naked Trump pictures and there's relations and Putin knows about them, I would probably be hanging up the phone.
Yeah, keep them. Yeah, keep them to yourself.
Yeah, thank you, but no thanks. Naked
but no
Trump
thanks.
with who?
Yeah, Dan, and this guy's been hitting Trump for collusion. Meanwhile, he's on the phone colluding with so-called Russians. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
You know, that was, you got me laughing. That was an actual response there with that interaction with Sarah, because it is funny. I mean, what is the obsession with naked Trump?
I just know.
Yeah, he's a human being. He has a body. Why the obsession with seeing him without clothes on? Will you guys get over it already? But it does. That was a great interaction. But it does speak to, again, Jesse, how the Democrats, you can always tell what they're up to by what they accuse Republicans of.
Yep.
They accuse them of collusion, but now we know two things. That Schiff, you know, air quotes, colluded to try to get naked Trump pictures. But secondly, we know Democrat Senator Mark Warner was in communication via text trying to get a meeting through a Russian oligarch with Christopher Steele.
And he didn't want
Just
any of those
incredible.
text messages out there. He said, you know, delete them. We can't have a trail.
No
yada,
paper trail.
yada, yada. Again, we don't want to see naked Trump. It's enough already with the revenge porn Democrats. Let's get to something we should be expecting in the coming weeks, Sarah. What are you hearing from your sources about new information that may be dropping?
Well, I think what's important here is that between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, we've seen a lot of these text messages that they basically send to each other on their unsecured government phones. But what we haven't seen is the iMessages. Now, they refer to these iMessages over and over and over again. And I think that's something that the Inspector General is looking at. I'm certain that he's probably got his hands on those. And these messages could reveal that they were sending classified information to one another. Not only that,
Wait. So the people that were investigating Hillary for mishandling classified information were also mishandling classified information?
Yes, it appears that that may be a concern. That's actually an extreme concern for a lot of the sources.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
really incredible.
Dan, are you hearing something similar? Because we heard that they lost 5 months of messages. Now there's instant messages. What else is in the hopper here?
Yeah, Sarah's got great sources. I've got one that fed me the exact same information. Here's what I'm hearing. There are SES members of the FBI, meaning senior executive service members, upper-level managers, who were caught up in this, Jesse, who were being asked to send, according to my sources, classified information, stripping out the markings over unclassified devices. Now, from my source, if there was an audit request by the Senate or the House members in charge of oversight for those communications, they would uncover some very, very disturbing things. And keep in mind here, Sarah's right, you're right asking these questions. These were the people who were investigating the transfer of classified information over unclassified devices on the Hillary case. Creates some very perverse incentives.
Dan brought up a really important point there, Jesse. I mean, look, a lot of the people that I've been talking to say that what Hillary Clinton was sending would be small potatoes compared to what could be uncovered if they look at all these SES text messages.
You're kidding me. Well, that would be a blockbuster. Let me just real quick before we go. You have extreme bias by these two FBI investigators. Now you have motivation to destroy the Trump presidency. We've seen talk about impeachment, Watergate, and this insurance policy. Who knows what that is? Does that mean the entire probe is corrupt at its core? I'll give you guys each 20 seconds.
Well, you have, let's start with this. You have the Department of Justice. You have the State Department. You have the FBI. You have officials within all of those departments that appeared to have a concerted effort to go after President Trump on a very political basis with Christopher Steele, with Cody Shear, an ally of Hillary Clinton, with Sidney Blumenthal and Victoria Nuland's now backtracking. We see Jonathan Winter over at State Department doing the same thing.
It's a rogues gallery.
Yeah, so you definitely see all of this. This is more than what they had on Trump to open the special counsel. So I certainly hope, and I'm waiting patiently for the Inspector General's report, because the Inspector General's report is going to be explosive, Jesse, and it's going to reveal a lot more than what we already know.
All right, Dan, I know I said I'd give you 20 seconds, but we got to pay the bills. And so the lady gets the last word, and we'll have you guys again soon. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Up next, Joe Biden strikes again.
Live from America's News headquarters. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas. Vice President Pence is expected back in Washington later tonight from his trip to Asia. He says there's, quote, no daylight among the U.S., Japan, and South Korea on the need to keep pressure on North Korea. Leaving South Korea, the vice president did say there seems to be a diplomatic thawing between North and South Korea. Mr. Pence was referencing an invitation for South Korea's president to visit the North. Well, Fox News confirms Secretary of State Rex Tillerson spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after Israel launched massive airstrikes on Iranian and Syrian targets inside Syria. Netanyahu also speaking with Russian President Putin tonight about the latest developments in the region. Israel says the strikes were in response to an Iranian drone infiltrating its northern airspace. Thanks for watching. I'm Julie Banderas. Now back to Waters World. You're watching Fox.
Donald Trump, famous for art of the deal. Joe Biden, famous for art of the gaffe.
And confidence, and to the U.S. Senate as well for their trust and confidence. We've got a lot of thanks to give out.
His mom lived in Long Island for 10 years or so. God rest her soul. And although your mom's still alive as your dad passed. God bless her soul.
Chuck Graham, state senator's here. Chuck, stand up. Chuck, let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about?
A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
Barack America. The former vice president came out swinging. He said this about President Trump.
Yeah, I just marvel at some of the things he says and does. Like, what, 2 days ago? Anybody who didn't stand up and clap for him was un-American and then maybe even treasonous?
They say it was tongue-in-cheek. Democrats can't take a joke.
Well, let me tell you, he's a joke.
Oh, that's rich. Joining me now, Ed Henry. So Biden is calling someone else a joke. Now, here's my theory, Ed, and tell me if I'm wrong. The Democrats are getting crushed on this collusion situation. The economy's doing well. People's paychecks are fatter. President Trump's approval rating's up around 50% now. And their chances of taking back the House aren't so sure, so they're trotting out the big gun, Joe Biden, to try to lay some leather on the president. How do you see it?
This shows they don't really have any leaders. They've got to go backwards. I mean, Biden, Nancy Pelosi, all in their mid-70s. They have not started to rebuild a new generation of Democratic leaders. And what they're looking at is, despite all the attacks on the president, and there were self-inflicted wounds this week on Rob Porter and other matters, so this White House still has its struggles. We've got to note that. Right. The fact of the matter is that the economy is very strong right now. And when I talk to the president's senior advisors, they tell me if they can get an immigration deal in the next couple of weeks and build on the momentum from the big tax cut victory at the end of last year, and then move on to something like infrastructure, he's going to have such a dramatically successful 2 years on the domestic front that they'll actually have something strong to take to the voters in the midterms and maybe push back against any Democratic wave. And by the way, all of a sudden this week you had media people noticing that there's a stock market. When it was riding high, they weren't mentioning that Donald Trump was doing well.
You know, it's so funny. It's when the stock market's doing well, it's the Obama economy.
Yeah.
But when it starts going down, Trump's tanking the market. You can see right through these people. Also, another big shot heavyweight Democrat came out of the woods this week. Eric Holder had some kind of not nice things to say about President Trump. Let's take a look at that.
I think any one of my kids would make a better president than Donald Trump.
Are you possibly thinking of running for office?
You know, I'll see. I think I'll make a decision by the end of the year about whether or not there's another chapter in my government service.
President.
We'll see.
All right, so my two thoughts here, Henry. One, it's really below the dignity of Eric Holder to take a shot like that at the President of the United States, and that's not saying much. And two, Eric Holder for president? Seriously?
Look, they've got nobody else, number one. And number two, he is somebody who is going to rally the left if he gets in. I'm not saying he's going to win. Who knows if he even runs. But he is somebody who Barack Obama may help big time and say, look, he's going to finish the job that Hillary Clinton couldn't.
So you really think he could carry Obama's torch into 2020?
He can try. Who else do they have is my point. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I'm giving you the positive for him. Let me give you the negative.
Yeah.
What these reporters didn't ask about his possibility of running for president. Oh, by the way, were you the attorney general who was held in contempt of Congress? Yeah. Oh, they forgot to mention that. And when Joe Biden's on the book tour, you played that clip. Is anyone asking, hey, it was the Obama-Biden administration that maybe helped cook up the dossier to get surveillance and spied, Obama officials spied on Trump people on the way out the door. Why is nobody asking Joe Biden about that? Eric Holder was no longer there. It was Loretta Lynch as attorney general, but he was carrying on much of the same policies before that. They're not getting pressed on any of this.
All right, well, let me ask you a quick question because we got to go real quick. You broke a nice story about Mark Warner, senator down there in Virginia, who was communicating with a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch, and he's trying to meet Christopher Steele, but he doesn't want anyone to know about it. He doesn't want to leave a paper trail.
Don't leave a paper trail,
What's
he says
the
in the
fallout
text.
there?
We got it. Look, Marco Rubio says this is not a big deal and rushed to Democrat Mark Warner's defense because he says he disclosed it to us in October. What he's not saying, Marco Rubio, is that Mark Warner was doing this texting last February and March. It was only after he got caught with the message that, among other things, said, I don't want a paper trail, that he months later disclosed it to Marco Rubio and the rest of the committee.
Later.
Number one. Number two, real quick. Think about this. If Devin Nunes was talking to a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch, Julian Assange, and Christopher Steele, he'd be burned at the stake, I suspect.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? All right. Ed Henry is showing us the other side. Up next, the ladies, Diamond and Silk, are back. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi never at a loss for words, proving that this week during an 8-hour speech advocating for Dreamers, children of illegal aliens, it broke the record for the longest continuous speech in House history, all the while in 4-inch stilettos. Here to react, video bloggers Diamond and Silk. All right, ladies, 8 hours for illegal aliens. Has she ever stood up for Americans for that long?
No, she don't stand up for Americans like that. She stand up for other people, but not the American people. You know, we think it's a disgrace that she get paid taxpayers' dollars. She was voted in by Americans.
That's right.
Yet she's standing up for DACA so-called dreamers and not the American dreamers. So this is what everybody needs to do. They need to vote Nancy out. It's time for Nancy to go on an early retirement.
Yes.
Give her a path to retirement and just vote her out.
That's
because
right.
she clearly don't care about the American people.
Do you give her any credit for standing up for 8 hours in stilettos?
No, I give her no credit. She was just trying to be seen.
And it was a waste of money.
And time.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Now, President Trump really interested in having a military parade, wants some tanks and some soldiers and a few flyovers, to show off our great soldiers and pay them some respect. Democrats and the media freaking out. Let's listen.
We sometimes have military parades to mark the ends of wars. In this case, it's apparently just because the president wants to see all the tanks and stuff.
Maybe the answer, Joe, is to just get Donald Trump a military uniform with epaulets on the shoulders and give him some salad dressing to put on the left lapel and let him march around and pretend to be General Patton.
I say that it's a fantastic waste of money to amuse the president.
That's right. Trump wants a military parade. So you're just going full dictator now. Just wasn't enough.
I think you two should be the grand marshals of the military parade. What do we think about that?
Well, I love that, Jesse, but what I don't understand is why is it that the women can march in the streets with offensive caps on their heads and nothing is said? People can do all of these pride parades and be half naked in the street and nothing is said. And here, the president want to honor our military and our veterans.
That's right.
And everybody have to complain about that. The hypocrisy on the left is so real. Listen, if he wants to honor the military, I say bring on the parade. I would love to see that. I think it'll be very patriotic in our country to see that.
That's a great point. They're pro-women's march, but pro-anti-military march. I just think they're going to get boxed in like they did with the kneeling for the anthem, that the whole country supports standing for the flag, and then a few crazy Democrats are going to be against it, and they're going to look unpatriotic. Now, a new study out. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. It says cursing is good for you. Says it helps pain management, it releases stress, it helps self-expression, and it's associated with honesty. Do you guys believe the study?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I believe the study.
That's right.
And see, I like to cuss when I get upset, especially about what's happening right now. When we see that the Obama administration, the DNC, we see Hillary Clinton, along with the FBI and the DOJ, all colluding, colluding with together to try to bring down an administration and try to derail Donald Trump's campaign. Oh, yes, it makes me want to cuss. Somebody need to vote that out.
That's right.
This sugar honey iced tea has got to stop today. Somebody need to be arrested. Go to jail, baby. And yes, it makes me want to cuss every day, all day. Yes.
Okay. All right, I like this. I like that, and there was some other things going on there. You guys are looking good, and if you want to see the ladies on tour, go to diamondandsilkinc.com because they're blowing the roof off. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for having us.
Up next, the Party Bros.
Get down tonight. It's always a good time.
Chad Kroger and JT Barr are back in Waters World. All right, boys, let me ask you this. The Nunez memo and the text messages between the FBI agents, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'd say leave out the memos, dude. You know, I'd say, you know, if you want to, like, if you have beef with someone, you know, I'd say face them straight up.
And, like, honestly, too, it's like, are you showing all the text messages, or are you just, like, showing the text messages that, like, where you're not acting like a weirdo?
Good point.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see all the salacious love texts. That's what I'm interested in. The parade that the president wants to throw for the military, are you guys pro-military parade or anti-military parade?
Well, I do love the Blue Angels for sure. I'd say in terms of parades, having tanks in the street is probably not a really good look, but I always am down to support the troops for sure.
Yeah, if it's to support the troops and, like, for us to give adulation to them, I'm totally down. But if it's just for us to flex, it's like, dude, you know you're jacked. Like, you don't have to, like, rip off your sleeves.
Yeah, it's like wearing a tight tee. Like, we get it, dude.
Okay. I want to know if you guys are politically correct people, and I'm going to show you some sound of Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, making some politically correct remarks up there, up north, to some of our neighbors. Roll it.
Maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
There we go, exactly.
So people kind over mankind, boys. Do you buy into that whole PC stuff?
People.
Yeah, people
JT?
kind, mankind, like, I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder.
That's a good point, for sure.
Chad was saying, like, he should have run that comment by his crew before he tested it out, like, publicly.
Yeah, like, I heard that he came out and said it was like a joke, and it's like, if you're gonna make a joke, I'd say test it out with your squad first.
Okay.
Just to, like, so, you know, because your squad could be like, hey, dude, like, that's kind of corny. So I think that's a good call.
Because that was kind of corny, and I think everybody agreed with that. The stock market, very volatile. It's up and down all week. Boys, do you guys have a lot of money in the market, or do you suggest people take money out of the market? How do you see the Dow Jones doing these days?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, J-Bone. I actually recently read Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins.
Okay.
And according to Tony, the market can get pretty aggro from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, but as an investor, you just gotta stay in it. He's like my dogs, just stay in it and you'll be good, dude. So
don't panic and sell. Just hold it and just stay true.
That's what Tony says.
In my youth, I was an avid investor. I was trying to follow the Gordon Gekko model, but I reached a level of spiritual enlightenment freshman year of high school, and I transitioned out of the money game.
For sure.
I mean, you guys could be making money doing what you're doing. Obviously, you're pretty popular. Maybe you should go on tour with Diamond and Silk. I think that could be pretty successful.
That's so nice.
That'd be epic.
You come with, J-Bone.
Yeah, J-Bone.
Yeah, I'll open it up for you guys, and then you guys just count the dough. Any big plans this weekend? What's on the agenda?
Do we have anything planned?
We're raging at a dance, like, it's a bar, but they have, like, a pretty fire dance floor, so we're going to go out there and just, like, shake out the week and just, like, I don't know, have a really nice time.
Yeah, just tear it up, you know. We love to dance, so we're going to break a sweat and get groovy.
Can I see a few moves? There you go, JT. There it is. There it is. There it is. All right. I'll leave you guys with that. Boys, great seeing you. I'll see you next week. Up
Good to
next.
see you, great to see you.
Last
Bye.
call.
Love you.
Love you too.
No breaks when you push that back.
Time now for last call. The Eagles won the Super Bowl as I predicted. We had the parade Thursday, and Eagles center Jason Kelce stole the show.
Everybody wonders why we're so mean. Everybody wonders why the Philadelphia Eagles aren't the nicest fans. If I don't eat breakfast, I'm pissed off. You know what I gotta say to all those people that doubted us, to all those people that counted us out, and to everybody who said that we couldn't get it done? What my man Jay and John just said, you.
He's like a leprechaun from Mardi Gras. That's it for us tonight. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Justice with Judge Janine is next. And remember, I'm Waters, and this is my world.